Everybody. I am Rhonda Rawlings with 107.3 Jams, Uplift Upstate, and Mill Village. Now, as someone who has been in the media for all of my career, and as a Black creator, I am especially excited to hear our next keynote speaker. Here to introduce him is Dr. Lori Pindar, Director of Undergraduate Studies for the Department of Communication and the Assistant Director for the Irwin Center for Brand Communications here at Clemson University. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Rhonda. I am proud to introduce our next guest speaker, Roland Martin, who is the host and managing editor of Roland Martin Unfiltered, the first daily online show focused on news and analytics of politics, entertainment, sports, culture, from an explicitly African-American perspective. Martin was a senior analyst for the Tom Joyner Morning Show and is the author of 3 books. He has been named 4 times by Ebony Magazine as one of the 150 most influential African-Americans, and News1.com named him as the #1 Black pundit in the country. He has also been named several times to the Root 100's annual list of influential African Americans. He has received over 30 awards for journalistic excellence and spent 6 years as a contributor for CNN and 13 years at TV1 Network, where he played an integral role in building the Black-owned network. Martin launched the first Black news source audio and video podcast in 2005 and 2006 as the Chicago Defender, the nation's most historic Black newspaper, where he also was the executive editor and general manager. He is the former founding news editor for Savoy Magazine and the former founding editor for Black America Web. He is a life member of the National Association of Black Journalists and a life member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. He is a graduate of Jack Yates High School Magnet School of Communications and a 1991 graduate of Texas A&M University, where he earned his BS in journalism. Please give it up for Roland Martin.
There you go. All right, how we doing? You good? Men of color, how we doing? Brothers, how we doing? All right, got it. Let's see, where are folks from? Just shout out where you're from. North Carolina, Huntsville, Michigan. What did you say, Seattle? Seattle? All right, where say it again? Spartanburg, all right. Where are the folks from Texas? All right, what city? Houston, that's a good city, that's my city. All right then, so certainly glad to see everybody here. I'm glad to be back here. Camera person, I'm gonna be walking, so you need to be on your P's and Q's, just letting you know. This is the second time I've spoken at this conference. I also spoke previously at the conference that was held in Akron, so it's so good to see all of you here. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about, so let's get right into it. I am glad to be, of course, back here to see the folks at Clemson, and don't worry, they're going to be soon losing to my Texas A&M Aggies, just letting y'all know that. So that's going to happen. It's going to happen. Yeah, I said it. I ain't got a problem saying it. But again, it's good to be here. There are a number of ways, a number of things that I think are important that we have to address, that we have to speak to. And it really is the most important thing that I want to deal with. And anytime you're around this many people of color, especially Black folks, and you in places where they go to church, you have to tag your text. Now, if the person next to you has no idea what the phrase tag your text means, you are sitting next to somebody who has never gone to a Black church. So allow me to tag my text, just us. Turn to your left and tell the person to your left, just us. Now turn to the person to your right and say, just us. Now I want you to turn around to the person right behind you, and I want you to tell them, just us. All right. Now the reason I do that, because some of y'all, and I saw y'all earlier, some of y'all fall asleep, y'all check out. So if you go home and somebody say, oh, Roland Martin, was that what you talk about? You can't remember nothing else but two damn words. Just us. That way, and they be like, got it. So that's how I make it easy for you, by tagging the text. 2004, I accepted an opportunity to become a consultant and eventually the executive editor of the Chicago Defender. The nation's, as you heard in the intro, most historic black newspaper. And while I was in Chicago, there were a number of people who I got a chance to meet there, and one of those folks was Ronaldo Glover. Ronaldo Glover was an attorney for DLA Piper. He was one of the investors in the Chicago Defender. Ronaldo was a great brother. Really got a chance to know him and his wife Pam. And it was in May of 2007 that Ronaldo said, Roland, let's go to lunch. So we went to the Renaissance Hotel. I lived downtown, didn't live far, so I walked to the hotel and we sat there, and Ronaldo asked me, he said, Roland, what do you think is the most important issue facing black America? Now, keep in mind, Ronaldo was the chairman of the board of Fisk University, where he was a standout basketball player. He later was chairman of the board of the City College of Chicago. And so I understood how Ronaldo felt about education. He understood how I felt about it. And I said, education. He said, oh, hell no. Now I'm like, well, okay, what is it? Ronaldo said, the most important thing facing black America is the state of our men. Ronaldo had two children, one of them was a daughter. Ronaldo said, Roland, I am so concerned that I'm literally this close from arranging my daughter's marriage. Y'all, he was 100% serious. If you ever seen those photos of Mobutu, who was the dictator in Zaire, Ronaldo looked just like him. Ronaldo always had this stern look. He had a great smile, but when he was serious, you knew this brother was really serious about what he was talking about. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching. He said, no, I'm serious. He said, I am this close to picking my daughter's husband right now and ensuring that he has the right education, goes through the right things in order to be able to marry my daughter. And I'm sitting there going, Ronaldo is not playing. He is really serious about this. And so we begin to have this conversation. And Ronaldo said, Roland, I want to make sure that you are focusing on this and speaking to these issues. That was May 2007. A month later, Ray calls me. He's driving on the highway to tell me that he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was having the Whipple surgery in July of 2007. November 27, Ronaldo dies. His wife Pam had two previous bouts with breast cancer. 2 years later, Pam dies. That summer, I spoke at the Alpha Convention at our brotherhood, and I talked about the same conversation. Ronaldo also happened to be an Alpha, and he wasn't seeing people. He was only seeing family in his last months. And I made sure that I dropped off an audio copy of the speech and left a note in his mailbox because I wanted him to hear. And I wrote the note and I said, I'm honoring my commitment that I told you that I would always speak about how vital this issue is in terms of where we are as black men and as men of color. And I've had the fortunate opportunity in my career to be able to meet and converse with a number of brothers all across this country who I'm able to call on, who I'm able to get counsel from, to get advice from, to bounce things off of them when it comes to career decisions. And that has been a blessing because these are folks from different areas and different expertises, and we have that relationship. And that's important because I don't care how old you are, you have to understand the value of surrounding yourselves with individuals who look like you, who can also check you when you're not acting right, but who can also encourage you and affirm you when what you are doing. And see, the reason that's so important because you got to be real careful who you allow inside of your inner circle. In the last 2 weeks, y'all might have seen the story of a cornerback for the Dallas Cowboys who was questioned by police about a shooting where someone was killed. The shot came out of the car that he was riding in. He didn't actually come forward after the shooting. It was after they had the videotape that showed who was in the car, then he finally talked to the cops. And a day or two after he talked to them, that's when they made 2 arrests. Here is somebody who literally could have seen his career go up in flames, not by his actions, but by the actions of the people who he was with. I think about Michael Vick. Michael Vick, star quarterback. Michael Vick likely blew $100 to $150 million after he went to prison for dogfighting. And Mike wasn't busted for dogfighting. Y'all got to remember, it was one of Michael's friends who was driving one of his cars who had been stopped by the police. Then they had probable cause to go search the house. They found the drugs in his house that his friend had. That's where they found out the dogfighting operation. Michael had more to lose than his 2 friends. Michael was the last one to talk. His 2 friends cut deals with the district attorney, and Mike was the last man standing. How you the one with more to lose and you the last one talking? No, when you got more to lose, you talk first. What I'm trying to explain is whether you are black, whether you are Latino, whether you are Asian, whether you are Native American, whether you are white, you have to understand the circumstances of your life can change dramatically in an instance, not because of something you did, but by the folk who you hanging with. And I know some people saying, yeah, but you know, that's my friend. But will your friend be in prison with you? When you flunk out of school, will your friend flunk out with you? When you were trying to care for your family, will your friend be caring with you? When you get evicted from your house, will your friend allow you to move in with them? I am lucky in that how I was raised, I was provided the proper discernment by not having certain folk in my life. And I've had no problem in my life telling certain folk to go to hell. I mean, I had no problem. I ain't had no problem. Y'all got to understand, in my family, I'm the second of 2. My brother is 1 year, 1 day older. We have 3 sisters. It's 5 of us. My mom had 7 brothers and sisters. They all averaged 5 kids. My maternal grandparents had 42 grandkids. On my dad's side, he had 7 brothers and sisters as well. We, just on my mom's side, we all went to the same Catholic church. The Catholic church was born out of my grandparents' living room. So every Sunday, it was always literally 40 to 50 people at my grandparents' house. I grew up never spending the night at a non-family member's house with no room for friends. I ain't need friends. I had 37 cousins. I didn't need friends at all. And I ain't like all my cousins. We couldn't stay. Y'all don't understand. We couldn't hang with everybody. My dad's like, yeah, no, you ain't going to their house. No, that's not happening. And I know some of y'all sitting here, you're like, man, that's cold, but I want to hang with them. But see, you had better understand the wisdom and the discernment and the knowledge of your mama and your daddy or your grandmother and your grandfather or your aunt and uncle, because there are things that they see that you don't see with your young eyes and your young mind, and there are folk who are trying to save you from mistakes that they may have made and you can't see it. And so here you are like, yeah, but I like him. That's my boy. Then like, yeah, but your boy is going to be a problem. My daddy was real good at pinpointing who was going to be thug today, future number on his chest tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, no, they can't come to the house. And when I say you got to be very careful who's in your inner circle, you got to be real careful who you give your spirit to. That's really important. See, it's some people, and when I say I don't like some people, luckily I'm talking about, that was somebody when today is my wife and I 21st anniversary. And she was the first female staff pastor at Brook Hollow Baptist Church in Houston, the Church Without Walls. And so we got married, and she'd already been on staff. And there were some folk there who were deacons and elders who worked there. And when I joined the church, I was like, yeah, he ain't no good. And there was some folk, and so I remember it was at the church, and they were like, oh, Reverend Jackie, how you doing? He gave a hug. I was like, yeah, he can't speak to me. And it had nothing to do with him giving her a hug. Immediately, I picked up his spirit. I was like, yeah, I can't shake his hand. And y'all gotta understand, I roll that way. I don't like sorry men. I don't. I don't shake the hand of sorry men. I don't say hi to sorry men. I don't wave at sorry men. I don't want your spirit around me. You can just move on to your own divine good. My sister was married to one of them. No, understand. I gave the Men's Day speech at my parents' church, and I said in my speech, I don't like sorry men, like my sister's husband. I don't know why y'all tripping. If God know you said it outside of church, why you fronting in church? And I said, I don't like sorry men. I said, because I was raised by a mother and a father. I had my maternal grandmother and grandfather. I saw my aunts and uncles. I had modeling of what a man, a father, a daddy looks like. And so I simply don't allow it. And so when I say they can't come near me, no, we can't hang, we can't holler, you can't sit next to me, because I don't want whatever is in your spirit coming into my spirit, because there's going to be a clash. And so you literally have to begin to refine and develop that today, because if you are real honest, you know it's some folks you should never get in the car with. You know it's some folks you should never go by their house. You know it's some people you should not be communicating with on social media. And it's talking to you and it's telling you, and you still doing it, and you're sitting here and it's there, and there's something is going to happen, and it may go left and it may go right, and it could very well alter your entire future. I think back to when I was in high school, and Cats are like, yo, man, we should skip school. Y'all can skip school. I wasn't afraid of the cops. I was afraid if my daddy found out. Matter of fact, I would have preferred the cops over him. If the cops beat me, that's excessive force. He beat me, that's called parenting. I got in trouble at elementary school, y'all, and I wasn't even in the wrong. They called him. And this is when they had corporal punishment. So the paddle was on the table. Now, mind you, state law limited them to 3 pops. He ain't have no limit. I got lit up by 25. I was like, why did y'all call this Negro? I got lit up because he had no limit. I ain't sit down for at least 6 hours. But I had daddy that didn't play. That's how he rolled. And I'm saying that because what we have to understand when you look at where we are now, when you look at the condition that we're in, when you look at how we are heading, y'all, it's just us. We can't sit here and think there's going to be a cavalry that's going to ride in to save and transform us. No, it literally is just us. It means that you are going to have to rely on those around you to help you. If you are having trouble when it comes to your studies, you're going to have to count on some folks who are sitting next to you to help you get through it. If you go through a broken relationship, you're going to have to rely on the folks, your boys who are riding with you to help you get through it. And what I need brothers to understand is that so many of us are so macho, so into our feelings, we don't want to talk or share with somebody, yet you got groups of women having conferences and symposiums and summits and girls' weekends and all kind of stuff. They are meeting, sharing, talking, gathering, and then what you got guys getting together, we sitting here with our gatherings, we getting together playing cards, playing games, ain't no conversation happening, and we going home broken the same way we arrived. You have to understand that there are very few gatherings like this one here, where you have the collection of men of color who are in the same space, not just listening to speeches or sitting in workshops, but you have an ability to be able to meet, talk, share, and connect with cats who look like you from different backgrounds. That is absolutely rare. Our church in Houston had a men's conference, and I had a work retreat. So I didn't get there till Saturday evening. So I got there Saturday evening, and they had been playing sports all morning and the early afternoon. So I get there about 4 o'clock, and so they said, okay, we have dinner, then we have the evening prayer session. I said, okay. Mind you, I said I got there at 4 o'clock. Okay. So dinner 6, and then they have the evening church service at 7. By 7:30, I'm sitting in the back. I'm sitting in the back. And all of a sudden behind me, I see trays of food being brought out. And I'm like, didn't we just eat? And so the trays of food are coming out. And I'm like, what we doing? We're going to be done at 8:30. And then we got some cards, some dominoes, some tonk, we got the TV, and we got some food. I said, y'all play games all day. Then had dinner. And you're going to have an hour and a half service? And then more games? I said, oh, hell no. I said that, I did. So when they asked for a stand up, they asked people to stand up, I said, I got a problem. I said, I know for a fact you about to get divorced. I know for a fact you about to break. I went through the whole room. I said, I need to understand, how can y'all come to a church men's retreat and come and play games when you have women who sit you here in order to deal with yourself, and y'all ain't had no real conversations about your stuff, and you gonna go home the same way you came. And what you don't understand is, if you go home the same way you came, the women in your life gonna be upset, and then they gonna question the men's group to say, what did y'all actually do? I was so lit, I didn't even check into my room. I went home. And they were like, yo, bro, why you so upset? I said, because we are doing what men and boys do too often. We spend time playing games and not dealing with our issues. And if men and boys are not talking to women, and we're not talking to ourselves, we are walking around carrying burdens and carrying stuff and never dealing with our stuff. And then when something happens, people say, man, I wish I had somebody to talk to. You had somebody to talk to, but you chose not to talk to because you were so locked into playing games. This is not a game. This is life. Ain't no such thing as practice. Every day it is a game. You have got to be dealing with your stuff. You've got to be surrounding yourselves with people who can breathe life into you, who can help you understand what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong. But you are the only person who can choose to make the decision, how am I going to change my life for the better? How am I going to be a better student? How am I going to be a better person? How am I going to be a better family member? How am I going to be a better partner? How am I going to be a better human being? And what I'm trying to tell you is, when it comes down to it, ain't nobody going to come and save us but us. See, some of you, and I know everybody got different backgrounds. Some of you have had hardships that other people cannot identify with. Some of you have been in situations where you didn't get 3 meals a day. Some of you have been molested. Some of you have never been hugged. Some of you have never had somebody, especially another man, say, I love you. Some of you right now are carrying a level of scars that the people around you don't even realize exist. And when I say just us, understand what happens when just one person decides to make a decision to save another brother. That was a young baby, newborn, within the first year. His mama left because his mama got tired of being beaten by his daddy. And here is this newborn baby. Mama's not there. Daddy's not taking care of the newborn. And this newborn baby has no control over its life. It can't feed itself. It can't dress itself. It can't keep itself warm. It can't keep itself cool. And this newborn baby needed somebody to hold it, to feed it, to nourish it, to love it, to cherish it, in order for that baby to be able to grow up. And this baby had siblings, but the siblings were not as focused. But luckily, that newborn baby had a grandfather that was willing to breathe life into that baby. And so it was the grandfather, not the daddy. Not the daddy that was beating the baby's mother that caused the mother to leave, to flee the home. You don't understand how crazy that had to have been for the beatings to be so severe for a mama to leave its newborn baby and walk away. And so this grandfather began to feed the baby. The grandfather began to nourish the baby. The grandfather began to take care of the baby. The grandfather began to do what daddy was supposed to do. And that baby then loses daddy at 9 when daddy gets murdered by his second wife. And so that 9-year-old baby, 9-year-old child now doesn't have daddy. But thank God there was a grandfather that chose to take care of that newborn baby, to allow that newborn baby to be able to grow up and do something with their life. And on Monday, that newborn baby will turn 75 years old. And on Saturday, I will be in Dallas taking that 75-year-old man to dinner because that 75-year-old man that was that baby was my daddy. So that ain't the clap. That ain't the clap. Had my grandfather not taken care of that newborn baby when it was 1 year old, I could not be standing here today. So I'm trying to get you to understand. You have to realize that the decision you make today has legacy involved. And so whether it's your daddy or your grandfather, whether it's your friend, understand somebody is going to save you or help you to build and grow, and that is going to allow for your children's children to benefit. And so what I'm saying is about us and just us. You have got to understand what you do today affects your lineage. What you do today can cut off your lineage or it can build it. What you do today can create a situation where your lineage then is able to go far and above where you are if somebody is there for them. Daddy and mama, when I go to Dallas, are living in the house that I own that's paid off. Daddy and mama moved there, had 2/3 of their debt paid off. Car paid off. Daddy and mama just got back from Vegas. Children pay for the trip. Daddy and mama celebrating 55 years of marriage in June. Called me. We going to Puerto Rico with one of my brothers. Fine. Your hotel room's going to be taken care of. What I'm trying to explain to you is that because of the decision of one grandfather saving the life of his grandson allowed for that grandson to grow up and have 5 children, and those 5 children now have 13 children. And so that grandfather's decision has extended the lineage of that family. And so when you make a decision today to get in the car, to take a bag that somebody hands you that you don't know what's in it, when you decide today to skip class, when you decide today to do wrong, do understand that the choice that you are making literally could determine the future success of your entire family lineage. So the decisions you make ain't about you. Who you sleep with ain't just about you. How you spend your money ain't just about you. Who you invite into your house, who you hang around is not just about you. When I think back to all of the people who I have come into contact with, I can stand here and say, glad I walked away from that and that. Glad I walked away from her. Because see, that's the other thing as well. I don't care how fine some people are. Crazy outweighs fine. Because see, a whole bunch of us get caught up in that, and it's like, yeah, but yeah, I love her. No, but she crazy. But we've got to understand that when you hear the phrase, I am my brother's keeper, that actually means something. And when I say lineage, I want you to read the story of Jonathan and David. David was running away from Jonathan's daddy. Jonathan saw the gifting in David. And Jonathan promised. Jonathan said, David, you must promise that you will take care of my house if I'm no longer here. 3 times he made David agree to that covenant. Jonathan was killed in battle. David becomes king. David says, is there anyone left from the house of Saul? He said, they say, yes. There's a son called Mephibosheth who is Jonathan's son. He had a foot problem. He said, bring him to me. And he said, Mephibosheth, because of the covenant I made with your daddy, you always will sit at the table of the king. Had Jonathan not befriended David and made the covenant, Mephibosheth would have been out in the cold. That's an example of a daddy looking out for his children's children, not knowing his own personal outcome. I titled this Just Us because this week, Pastor William Murphy sent me his new song. And I'm going to close with this because I want you to listen to the words of his song. It dropped a week ago. The album comes out on Juneteenth. And the song is called Just Us. Listen.
Seek justice, that's the command we have to follow. Defend the orphan, that's the assignment of the season. That is the call, and it's upon us all to learn to do good. God wants righteousness and justice. He wants us to stand against all evil and oppression. He wants us to fight what we know is right. We will obey. Listen, we're all tired of hoping and praying.
Tired of hoping and praying.
We're so tired of waiting on other people to change. We stand together for justice, and we raise our voices. This is what I want you to say. Even if it's just us,
It's just us.
still enough of us. We gon' change the world.
We will change the world.
We gon' change the world. Listen. Seek purpose.
Seek purpose.
We can't waste another minute.
We can't
Time
waste
is
another
not
minute.
Waiting. We have to see the bigger picture. We're part of the crowd.
We're part of the crowd.
So we shouted aloud. It's time for a change.
It's time for a change.
We won't weary, we won't tire. We will not relent. Yes, we lift the master higher till we are free. This is what we will be. This is our plea. Yeah. We're so tired of hoping and praying.
We're so tired of hoping and praying.
We're so tired.
We're so tired of waiting.
Other people to change, so we stand. We want justice.
We stand together.
And we raise. Even if it's just us. Still, say that
There's
again.
still enough of us.
Even if it's just us, there's still enough of us. We gon' change the world.
We gonna change the world.
We gon' change the world. I was singing this right in my car, Commissioner. This can't happen again.
This can't happen
Can't
again.
be how it is. All we want is a win. This is what we gotta do. Welcome, Jesus. Can't be how it is. All we want is a win. Welcome, even if it's just us. Still enough of, even if it's just us. There's still everybody say, I need to hear your dream center. We gon' change the world.
Keep it plain, just bring it down some. He is saying it is just us. He is saying we can change the world. What we have to understand is that literally the individuals in this room have the capacity to change the future direction of your cities, of your states, of the country. If you want to understand how do we change America, you cannot change America unless you change states. You cannot change states unless you change cities. You cannot change cities unless you change neighborhoods. You cannot change neighborhoods unless you change blocks. You cannot change blocks unless you change streets. You cannot change streets unless you change houses on the streets. You cannot change houses unless you change one house. In order to change one house, that means one person in that house has to be willing to say, we are not going to keep doing the same thing the same way over and over again. I need every single one of you to understand you have the power, the capacity to be able to change the history of this world if you are willing. If you are willing to be a man of integrity, to be a man of honor, to be a man of principle, to be a man who understands that you cannot do this alone. No one will save any of us. Brothers, no matter where you from, it is just us.
Was that not a powerful message from Mr. Roland Martin? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Just a reminder to visit our exhibitors so you can learn more about what your future can look like. Without their support, the summit would not be possible. And of course, don't forget to share your photos and thoughts on social media using the hashtag ClemsonMOC. Once again, hashtag ClemsonMOC. I hope you all are excited for the evening event tonight at the AC Hotel. We are looking at some really beautiful weather tonight, full of entertainment with Mac Arnold and a plate full of blues. We also have another great lineup of keynote speakers tomorrow. We'll hear from Jeffrey Brown, the CEO of Ally Financial. Mr. Brown was one of the first 150 members of the CEO Action for Diversity and Inclusion Pledge. Michael Strautmanis, the Executive Vice President of Civic Engagement for the Obama Foundation, will discuss the importance of public leadership and civic engagement among communities of color. Derek Gregg, the Vice President for Athletics and Recreation at Northwestern University, will share powerful principles to live your best life. And last but not least, we will hear from Michael Eric Dyson, who will offer inspirational and practical ideas for improving access and opportunity for students of color. Thank you all so much for coming today. And I believe Roland Martin will be out in the lobby. Thank you.